Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back. Welcoming you to Nerds on Culture with Stormybman for this Monday, July 13th, 2026. This is number 164 in our series of nerds, and this is an episode with a subgenre subject where we're calling it "Why Are They Classics?" Forgive my misspelling. I just noticed that I had misspelled the title or the subtitle. So as I speak to you right now, I'm going to correct. A little bit of correction here because, you know, even Stormybman makes mistakes, huh? There you go. I don't want to come across as being kind of dumb because you can't be the sensei out here making too many of these type of mistakes. Pardon me, I had that music just a little bit too loud. I'm turning it down for you guys. I apologize for that as well. But we are here to discuss Batman Begins from 2005, a film that hit the theaters that brought a new take on The Dark Knight, somewhat loosely based on the Dark Knight comics, but at the same time, a different reality-based approach to the storytelling for the Caped Crusader. And this film, where they cast Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne / Batman, it brought some raised eyebrows to the production because some people, they had seen Bale in many productions, including American Psycho. If some of you saw that, you can say that Christian Bale was quite an interesting cast for Bruce Wayne. And as we talk about this evening, we'll get into some behind the scenes information regarding his approach to playing the character. But I have also in the building with me this evening, we got the brother Drew Titan in the building with us this evening to help me with this mighty subject of why they are classics. Salute to you, brother. How you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, good brother. I'm doing well, man. Ready for this topic. It's kind of good, like when you've kind of like been around to see everything. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Every Batman. From Adam West all the way up to Christian Bale, and so we are certified to have this conversation. We qualify, and the discussion is why this is a classic, and this is the one that kind of brought things back in the Christian Bale Batman, because it got away from us for a little bit.
Yes,
but Christian Bale brought it back, and I appreciated all of the movies he was Batman in, but this one in particular is definitely a classic. Definitely.
Yeah, and what is really interesting about this production is we didn't know that Mr. Nolan, who ended up being the director of this film, he also had a hand in the screenplay. And the fact that he wanted it kind of reality based. Right. How do you make Batman reality based? But you know what? I don't think there was another guy that could have done that, because what Christopher Nolan brought to this production was something very relatable, because the story of Bruce Wayne and how he came to be Batman after losing his parents as a child, people can relate to what Bruce Wayne was feeling and how he had to grow up being a minor child, losing his parents in front of him to the streets and by way of the streets in a place like Gotham. You can actually substitute Gotham for Chicago. And actually the film was shot here in Chicago. Quite interesting that this was done that way. But I got a question for you, Drew, on this. First, how old do you think young Wayne was when his parents were taken from him as a child?
Let's say about 7 to 8.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to tell you something about that age. When I was 7 or 8, that's when my dad was introducing me to the cowboy movies, the Bruce Lee and Kung Fu movies and everything. So understand the comic books, what we've talked about on this show in different episodes. And so for someone to lose their parent, their dad, who's their everything at such an early age, even though that they were well off and affluent aristocrats in Gotham, for a young boy to grow up having witnessed what he had to go through, life was easier for him, but the trauma behind what he went through there was always something there with him after that that made him not a normal child.
Right.
And I think that the way that the screenplay for this film was developed, Nolan was able to really bring that out. You see, it takes us to have our shows like this to make people rethink when they watch this fair, because most people go to munch on some popcorn and be entertained. But what we try to do with our show when we do reviews and have commentary and discussions on these items and subjects, we try to go beneath the surface and have a little bit of depth when we talk about these projects. And I'll tell you something, it's one heck of a situation to have to deal with what Bruce dealt with. And when we talk about what's relative, it's kind of one of those things that will make people kind of rethink a little bit. There's a great scene in the film where Wayne finds out that one of the mob bosses had a chance to get released from prison, and when he found that out and he could go around him and maybe want to confront him, Falcone, he decided he might want to make a move on Falcone. However, being a mob boss, Falcone is well protected and everything, but it was him coming face to face with the reality of what went on in his city, and another reason why his parents were no longer around. So Wayne made a decision to leave everything behind and run away. But he wasn't running away from the circumstances. He was liberating himself because he wanted to find a way to understand that guy and the city that he ran behind the scenes, so he could do something about it. Right. Would you say that's about spot on?
No, that is spot on, and that's something that people, again, you go to a movie to watch, to eat some popcorn to be entertained, but you and I, we're deeper thinkers in that. And the writers are deeper thinkers than that. They're dropping gems in there. It's called storytelling. It's deeper than what people think it is. And that was actually what I appreciated most about this, was the realism behind it. Bruce Wayne, he didn't just, become a mental case from watching his parents get murdered. And just to touch on that for a moment, what you said is 100% true to answer the question. But the storytelling part was, at that age, kids are very impressionable. I mean, you have a sense of gravity, meaning, if you fall a certain amount of feet, you're going to die. But you're a child, you're impressionable. There's still some out of this world things that you may think you can do at 7 to 8 years old. And he understood what he saw, and he had a mental breakdown, because at the end of the day, Batman is a mental case. He's a freaking guy running around in a bat costume, but there's a purpose behind what he's doing. And there's a story behind why he rocks the bat costume. He explains it a bunch of times. And what this movie did was they brought a sense of realism to it. And when it says Batman Begins, this was a prequel it was an origin story. And it made sense. There was
a different type of origin story, a different type, because it's easy to just tell the story that you may be familiar with from the comics, right?
Right.
But it's the way that this screenplay was played out by Nolan, because it's one thing to tell the comic accurate source material on screen, but it's another to take it and make it relatable to real life.
Right.
And there was a great balancing act in that. Salute to the sister Convos with Cam, who's out there, who happens to be a professional talking about
Right.
these matters that we're currently discussing about the psychology of individuals. And know that when someone does that or have gone off on a certain end, you know how we talk about people who are a little bit challenged. They may suffer in certain areas of personality or physicality, spiritual, the inner qualities of the individual. But wherever they kind of fall off there, and I say fall off according to how society looks at people and evaluates them, there are other areas that are more developed.
Right.
You know, like we say that certain special individuals have that extra strength. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or you can take certain people who might be autistic, but they have acute memories. They could remember specific items, things that you take for granted in your everyday life and don't put as much acknowledgement on. They have that.
Mm-hmm.
And in the case of Bruce Wayne, in Nolan's Bruce Wayne's world, that did something to him. And there was something there that was over sensationalized, where Wayne, even though all the pain that he endured and everything and grew up with, he kind of internalized that, and it became a thing where the actual physical pain and suffering that he may encounter, he had like a psychological block to that. Did you pick up on that?
No, I did. The psychological part of this, I think that in this film, they focused more on that. I don't think the audience paid attention, but they focused on that. Bruce Wayne is a mental case, but it worked for him because of who he turned out to be. And I was just thinking this as you was talking. You ever watch the show Monk?
Yeah.
He's crazy. He had an event in his life that made him crazy, but he pays attention to detail on a level that the average person just does not. It made him a savant at what he did. Dexter, right?
Oh, go back to the 70s. Columbo.
Yes, perfect. These people are crazy.
Yeah.
They're crazy. Yeah. Bruce Wayne is a nut. He's a nut. I mean, you can't just, grow up and run for mayor and try and stop this stuff. No, he's running around in a bat costume and bopping bad guys upside the head. And he's so crazy and the city's so messed up that the goddamn commissioner says, nah, we kind of need this dude help. Not put him on the payroll. Not, hey, why don't you just do this the right way and become a detective? We don't ask any questions. No, they send a signal into the damn sky. I mean, that's how he's crazy, and the police department is crazy right along with him. But that's what made this special.
Yes.
It made it special. Because sometimes you need a effing nut to straighten certain things out. I'll give you a prime example of that. When the Bulls signed Dennis Rodman, everyone was like, why? What are you doing? But it worked. He's effing crazy, but it worked.
You had Michael, who was a perennial superstar in the league, probably the player representative of the league. You had Scotty, who was the ultimate sidekick,
right,
to whatever Michael did.
Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin. Scotty was able to help in other ways, but Rodman was the monkey wrench, and no pun there, but a monkey wrench is, or the tool that is an all accessible tool. He did the dirty work. He did the cleanup work. He started the mess. He was a distraction on purpose. And he was just that all-purpose tool that enabled that team to handle everything else.
Right.
And those were some of the greatest championship runs when he joined them for that second three-peat.
Right.
Amazing. But you are absolutely right. Rodman, under those circumstances.
It was crazy. It was crazy. So, you know, I think this is those characters we mentioned. We talking about the psyche behind the character. Dennis Rodman was a character. You know, this movie, and shout out to Jimmy Bernard. I was just talking with him. I think the Batman movies are in perfect order as far as Christian Bale. And I think Christian Bale had the best Batman series as far as realism is concerned. We was talking in the chat. I said it's a toss-up between Christian Bale and Ben Affleck, but they played two different Bruce Waynes. All right, it's very different. And salute to Ben Affleck. And
Ben Affleck's Batman was actually more authentically source material correct
to the comic,
to the Dark Knight series in the
correct. But I think that these were different Bruce Waynes. You understand? There would be a Justice League in the Christian Bale Batman wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. There's nobody flying around with superpowers. I don't recall them making reference to anything like that, which was fine. I like how they did Bane later on. You know, they didn't make him super duper. He was just a younger, more rugged rival. And
he still had those same type of training that Wayne ended up having.
Right.
So there was a familiarity with how to handle yourself physically and psychologically.
Correct.
Remember the great scene, and we're not trying to get off the track of this film, because this show is dedicated to this film. But when he was encountering Batman, Bane in this universe, the Nolan verse, and Batman pulled out his weapons of distraction.
Yeah, it was.
And Bane's reaction to it was like,
threw something against the wall, spun around and hit him in the chest. He was like, you know, what is that? You know, I know that trick already. So nothing worked. Nothing worked. And Batman,
I was raised in the dark.
In the dark, right? So Batman was the old dog at that time, and Bane was the younger, more dangerous opponent, right? But getting back to this, this set the tone, and I appreciate it. I appreciated it. The only super duper thing that Batman had was his tech, which was fine, because even the tech wasn't like over the top.
Right.
He had
no back grounded in reality. It was grounded in reality.
Grounded in reality.
I have to say, the Tumbler is my favorite Batmobile.
Man, listen, that's the favorite. That's the best Batmobile. I don't want to hear it. The Tumbler is the best one. The Tumbler was the best. When I first saw that, I said, man, you know what? That's it right there. That's it right there. And I like the fact that he had technology that was ahead of everybody. Like, for example, this was in 2005. he had tech that was already 2025.
And when it was able to convert into a motorcycle,
Oh, beautiful.
dude, that was wonderful. I'll never forget watching the film, and he was driving, and he told Rachel, hold on. And he went over there, got down in the middle, and went down and came. I was like, holy fuck.
That was dope. That was dope. That was dope.
Man.
Columbia says, don't sleep on Robert Pattinson. Let me say this about that real quick. Stormy, I got a confession to make. I sat down and tried to watch that Robert Pattinson Batman. You know, every time I fell asleep on it.
I still haven't seen it from beginning to end.
I tried, man.
It does not hold my attention. It doesn't.
I'm literally falling asleep. There've been times where I've taken a nap and I'm sitting there and said, okay, I got my sandwich with my lettuce and tomatoes and vinegar and onions and, you know,
two weeks ago, I put that movie on, and it was early in the day, in between some boxing that I was watching on Saturday, and dude, I couldn't get through it.
I can't. I don't know what it is. Why the hell that movie put me to sleep?
You know what it is? And this is my interpretation. And I know what Columbia said. Appreciate you offering that up, Columbia, but people like what they like.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Pattinson was a bad selection to play the character. He offered up nothing of himself to apply himself to the role. He just accepted the role like, okay, I'll play the character. I'm not going to hit the gym. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do. He actually put nothing into that. But he played the character. They put a suit on him and everything.
And that damn helmet makes me mad.
I think the negative energy off of that approach, it permeates the movie.
Yeah.
And the director of this film, he stole small elements of Ben Affleck's story, but he couldn't, you can't just plagiarize, you can't take the whole thing. But he took some elements because Ben Affleck's film was supposed to be called The Batman. And he was still too fresh and new on the scene and received well by audiences talking about Ben Affleck, that this just didn't work. Just like, man, Superman didn't work, and now Supergirl didn't work because they try to force something on an audience that you know what you like. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you go to a burger joint, you want that burger that you went there for. You don't want them to try to push a chicken sandwich in front of you.
Correct. Yep.
If you go to a steakhouse, you don't want them trying to bring you some fish. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on. This is what it is. And I don't believe those higher ups, meaning the suits that are overseeing these studios, they don't respect the public dollar enough to say, well, that we'll put things out there and they'll accept it. No, the audiences have become very educated. They've become very educated and a little bit more responsible with their buying power, because you just can't tell them it's raining and they looking at the drops and the drops smell and look like urine. I'm sorry, it's not going to work.
They finding out,
huh?
They're finding out the hard way because it's costing them millions of dollars. Now, the Robert Pattinson Batman, I'm gonna tell you what did come from that I am interested in watching, and when I get a minute, I'll sit through the series to see if I like it. Was the Penguin? It looked interesting.
Then again, think about it. You got to talk about the talent. That's Colin Farrell, right?
It's Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell,
in makeup,
I felt was the best young actor like De Niro that had come through the Mark Wahlbergs and all that generation of guys who were coming right behind Tom Cruise. And if you realize it, Tom put those guys in his movies, the Mission Impossible films and stuff like that. These guys have been kind of right under there, Minority Report and all of that. Colin Farrell's a damn good actor. You know, even in Ben Affleck's Daredevil film, playing Bullseye.
Bullseye, yeah.
He was nutso, but he was good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I wanted to talk to you. Yeah. Thank you, Young DZ. And salute. Good to see you back. Is the Clayface movie, because they trying to push it off as horror, which you know, that seems cool. But is that the Robert Pattinson universe?
They haven't even said what universe it is, because the way Gunn has done things, he's claiming things that are successful as his own. When things are failing, he's saying otherwise. You know what I mean? So it's like that's why they need to get rid of this guy and just move him along, because don't forget, he came in, he messed up the second Aquaman film, he messed up the Flash film.
Didn't even watch it.
He messed up Blue Beetle, and those were not even his films. Those films were all completed before he became that CEO, whatever. But he came in, halted productions, demanded reshoots and everything like this, and started messing those IPs up. And then after doing that, he announces we're going in a different direction, affecting the box office of all of those films. This is why, like, dude, I don't harp on it, but he was brought in. I don't know what they were trying to do, but he wasn't the right guy. He was not. And there are people out here who want to throw support behind that because they like the lewd and ill nature and the rawness of the perversions and stuff that he shows, like that Peacemaker crap and all of that. Dude, get out of here with that. That's not a part of DC IP. It's not. If you wanted to do that, create your own world of that kind of stuff. Don't go destroying IP and source material that people have watched for at least 40 years or more. You know what I mean? I ain't talking about 15 or 20 years, because 15 or 20 years, they've just started allowing a lot of these weird characters who have questionable sexualities and all of that kind of stuff. That has just come over the past 15, 20 years. But when you talk about Batman, dude, Batman got like he's got a lineage of like 75 plus years. So does Wonder Woman. So does Superman. What are you doing?
Reinventing
that whole thing about Superman being sent to the earth to populate the earth and everything and all of that. Dude, you know what that sounds like? That sounds satanic. And it don't have nothing to do with Superman's IP.
At all. As a matter of fact,
when you listen to the words that Marlon Brando spoke in Superman the movie as getting ready to send Kal-El to Earth, that's what that's about. Those Kryptonians were an elevated society from Earth. The ones that in James Gunn's Superman world, that sound like some rednecks from Trailer Park, don't it?
Yep. And let me tell you, he's an asshole for doing that, because that's what Invincible's about.
This is what I'm saying. Invincible's about. How old is Invincible? How old is that?
Invincible, the comic book, because the story, the cartoon is fairly new, but the story's been around for about a decade. So he
Which is
knew
still
about
not a
that.
long time.
Yeah, he knew about that. He knew about Veltramites are the complete polar opposite of Kryptonians. That's all the story is. It's what if Superman was an asshole and Kryptonians were a bunch of assholes and they were still around? What are you going to do? It's like, okay, Kal-El is around, but thank God he's not like that. But this General Zod motherfucker, That's different. And imagine if there was a bunch of Kryptonians on that type of time, it'd be a problem. That's all
And
Invincible
even in
is.
Man of Steel, General Zod was the way he was because he was produced to be that way. Remember, they had a whole thing that stated that certain people were conceived to be certain things.
Yes.
A warrior was conceived from a shell of a pod to be a warrior. He wasn't going to be a scientist. He wasn't going to be a labor man or nothing. He was going to be a warrior. He was going to be, General Zod was groomed to be a general. And that's how they did. It was very ethereal how they ran the society, but it was still an elevated conscious society beyond Earth people.
Right.
You know, and that was what separates and makes them special in the ways that they are. What we saw in Man of Steel with Cal being raised by Jonathan and Martha Kent in Kansas, that's the closest thing that they could have to Kryptonians, and it was fortunate that he landed there and didn't land in the Soviet Union or in China. Or do you see what I'm saying?
Right. They did a book on that. I know you know about that.
Yes, absolutely.
Red Sun. Yeah.
Red Sun. But see, this is why I'm saying that James Gunn did something very bad when he took this Supergirl being a drunk and all of that kind of stuff.
Now let me ask you, Supergirl purposely going to somewhere where there's a red sun where she can get drunk. Where were the feminists talking about that is not what Supergirl's supposed to be? Why y'all depicting this woman with all this power purposely being a fabulous F-up? Where were the feminists on that? Because that's disrespectful. I didn't like it. I'm like, why they got her doing? That's the first thing I said. Why they got her doing that? Why can't she say, oh, I don't go over there. There's a red sun and I can get drunk. I don't go over there. That's not what I'm about. But they sent her over there. She, at the end of the Superman movie, she walks in trashed. I was like, whoa. And I just knew that the feminists were going to do something. They said nothing.
Which take us back to Superman 3. When Christopher Reeve playing Superman encountered Gus Gorman, who made this synthetic kryptonite, that when Superman encountered it, it changed up his physiology.
Right.
And made him an evil Superman.
Right.
A Superman that didn't care about nothing, didn't care about people or society, just did what he wanted or whatever. And guess what happened? The essence and core of him separated
them. Yes.
And it came out as Clark Kent, but it was still Kal-El. And they fought because he didn't feel right within himself. See, that's the depth of the script and what we're talking about when people are looking at something and they eating their popcorn and drinking their soda and they're like, oh, punch him and this and that. But they're not looking at the depth of the story.
Right. He was fighting himself.
He was fighting himself. And when he choked himself out, when he choked his evil self out, the real him came back.
I'm going to tell you something else that went over because I saw that in the movies. Tell you something else. That was in the 80s, the mid 80s.
Yes.
Right? And I think that was one with Richard Pryor.
Yes, that's what I said. He's the one that gave him that synthetic kryptonite.
The synthetic kryptonite. Now watch this. Drunk driving was a big thing back then.
Yes, sir.
They had mad mothers against drunk driving.
Yes.
Dads against drunk driving. AAA.
Funny how that's not even around no more, right?
It's not even around no more. But that was a big thing because there was kids getting in the cars and crashing up all over the country. It was every day someone was crashing. So every weekend there was some teenagers, white boys, crashing up their trucks and killing themselves, right? So when that Superman was written, they were being sensitive to the atmosphere because Superman was drunk in a bar and he was plucking peanuts and breaking the damn, he was plucking them so hard he was breaking the bottles. You understand? And that was when he was fighting himself. That was the message that you need to get some help and get out of that state where you need alcohol to survive. And it was with the atmosphere. It was so 80s. I understood it immediately. He was fighting himself, and when he choked out the bad Superman and he ripped open his shirt, it was a clean uniform. So he kicked the habit.
Yes.
He kicked the habit. And that's storytelling, like you said. That's storytelling. Very important.
I want to take a moment and pause here and give everyone that's watching us a chance to take a break, because we're going to go from here to Rumble. I gave them a little bit longer than I wanted to give on YT, but the link has been pinned in the chat. So for some of you, you can go ahead and get you a beverage or whatever as we take a little bit of a interlude as we prepare to take this and carry it on over to Rumble.
Click that link going over to Rumble, family.